The Blackhawks have a new head coach. Oh, wait. No, not that. This is the Bears show. We're going to talk about that. We got the more observations from OTAs, some stadium news, and we're going to revisit the 2023 draft class as well with our guy, Fran Duffy. Hi, Carm. CHGO Bears starts right now. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast. It is noon. It is showtime. We're ready to go, and we're back in studio after being at Hal's Hall yesterday. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Greg Braggs Jr. with you. We got Steven back producing. The whole gang is back together again. But I would like to take this moment to just... I don't know. Can we ISO Greg? I mean, this guy...
Look at the smile.
This guy... No. We're going to call this hypocrite out for who he is.
Oh, great. I love it.
Brick by brick, I'm this blue-collar guy, and I'm building my whole reputation of hard work. But this guy's a bit like a country club. Look at this guy. He tries to come in here bragging about how he played Medina yesterday. Look at how he's got... He even lost his backwards hat. His hair's done.
Look nice.
Straight out of the country club. Greg Braggs here.
Oh, man. Shout out to Sam. Oh, man. It was such a great day. Steven and I, it was Steven's birthday yesterday. We had the pleasure of playing at Medina. Of course, had to get some gear. Steven's wearing some Medina gear here.
I think you look great. I mean,
thank you.
So
we
soft.
Do.
Yours is good.
We look very nice.
Got the 100-year anniversary.
And yes,
there.
we thought we'd rub it in. We knew Carm probably wouldn't care. We weren't playing tennis, but just had to just twist the knife a little more on Adam Hoge. While you guys did a great job at OTAs, and I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun, but we had more fun, and we looked great.
You know,
fraud.
If you'd like to,
we already established after Walmart Business came through the Hollywood is here.
Hollywood Country Club Braggs. Get this brick by brick shit out of here.
I'd actually like the chat to weigh in on this. When you go to a nice place like Greg and Steven did, do you splurge
of course.
For the merch?
Well, you do. But I'm wondering if Bo Chanton, if Chimney, if Splash It, all y'all, do you spend that money? Because I literally flew to Wimbledon last year, went in the gift shop, and the stuff was whatever it was. I'm like, no chance I'm paying $90 for that shirt. And I mean, I bought like a couple kids' shirts to give to the Beckett and the Layla, but I wasn't going to buy it for myself. This guy, wherever he shows up, he's got to get the merchandise.
Yeah.
It's like a thing. You're a merchandise buyer.
Well, I don't remember what the top 5 was for my Medina preview a couple days ago before OTAs, but I'm pretty sure I parred 2 of the 5. So I had to get something nice to commemorate the moment.
I mean, it's like
a little flex there, little golf flex. Yeah, but nobody cares about my golf game. Let's get into it.
That's true.
That's absolutely true.
It was lovely.
Well, anyway, welcome into the show. Bears news this morning.
Yeah.
Let's go. Exciting Bears news.
I'm excited about it.
I am fired up.
I was wondering if this would happen. Not 1, but 2 joint practices. We'll see how many actual practices there are. But the Bears will practice against both the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills.
Plan your calendar. Miami game. Time is out. Wasn't out before. Noon.
Yeah, noon on Sunday, August 10th. How does that work with your camp schedule?
It's great. Absolutely fantastic.
The other camp, not the camp you're supposed to be at.
However, the second week is a bad situation. So, maybe the Bills will I hope they practice early in the week. Let's get it back out there.
And-
Yeah, they'll come in the Monday for you.
Why
not?
It's not till Sunday.
Yeah.
And to tie in the whole golf theme, which, we have our Cookout Classic here coming up in a few weeks, but the third preseason game, August 22nd, it's come to mine and Jake's attention here that it's the same day as the Cog Hill event for us. So we'll be doing.
Who planned that?
We didn't know Spencer did, our event guy, but Cog
Plus
Hill.
toss Spencer.
Cog Hill in the morning, and then Bears preseason game 3 at night.
Well, and that's the thing. These preseason games,
How's that sound,
game
Steven?
Sounds terrible.
game 2 and 3 are both at the 7:00 hour.
Right. Well, we got lucky there.
We did.
Yes, because we get to still play Cog Hill.
Oh, that is
I just ruined Adam's and Steven's day. I'm fine with it personally, but I'll play great at Cog Hill, and then we'll come here and have a great show. I'm sorry. I am excited about the joint practices, though. Not 1, but 2 this summer. That's
Wait.
those.
But actually, here's my bigger problem with that is, why is that game Friday? Those games are always Thursday. And here's my bigger problem than forget the Cog Hill thing. Like, we got to stop scheduling. We're just invading Friday nights now. Like, high school football's going on. This is already my
Not in the
problem.
morning. Relax there.
No, I'm not talking about the golf outing. I'm talking about the Bears game.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's got a football.
Get your mind off golf.
I can't.
Back to football.
He's got a football
I'll try.
game to be at that night.
It's not about me, though, because the same thing, we now have a Friday game the following week. So we're going preseason games are now. Now we got a Friday game, and then we got Black Friday. There's football. That's the same day as the state champions. They scheduled a Bears game during the IHSA state championship games. That
Yeah.
sucks, dude.
But the Bears game's at 2 that day on Black
The
Friday.
games go all day.
Yeah, they do. You sound very upset about all this.
Well, I didn't bring it up last week, and that just triggered me again on the whole thing. Like,
No
if we're
more
trying to grow
Fridays.
the sport, it's not all about
Yeah.
Amazon.
Let the kids have Friday, NFL.
Yeah.
Quit sticking your nose in every day of the week.
Listen, Casey Standahar is going to be down there doing the championship games. How's she going to watch the Bears get back to Channel 5 and report accurately? There's too much stuff going on here.
Anyway,
Think
Mitch
about-
Trubisky's coming back to Alice Hall.
Yeah, that's true.
Joint practices, Mitch Trubisky, big return, Buffalo Bills, and Hard Knocks returns to Alice Hall.
That's funny.
Because the Bills are on Hard Knocks. They're going to bring their cameras in. Everybody has to watch their mouth for one
That's what I was
day.
going to say. Will the Bills be allowed to swear when they
Not if
are
they're-
at the house?
Not if they're coming to Hallis.
That's going to be funny.
Yeah.
Will they edit out the fights?
That would be sweet if somehow, some way, Kevin was able to set up a conference room and somehow there's some big time Bears meeting in there that day.
They should make
shows the-
Josh
You know
Allen
what you
talk to
just
Matt
did?
Eberflus.
That you have no idea what you just did.
I definitely don't.
You just scooped Johns.
I did.
John's already made that point today, but it hasn't aired yet. You and John, simpatico, on the conference crew.
Well, John's was huge for me yesterday at Hallis because I don't have a badge that works. I forgot my phone. There was all sorts of stuff going on, and everybody else was out of the
You
practice
didn't have
field.
your phone yesterday?
Well, I had brought my phone, but it was in there. I left my phone in the media room, and everybody in the media had already headed out to practice. So when my badge doesn't access the door, they don't let me in unless I have a friend with me. Great move by the Bears. I respect it. And so I was stuck, and there's like a security guard person there or something. Nobody was there. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And then Adam Johns came walking down because Johns is just, he's on Johns time.
Mhm.
And he let me in, and we had a nice talk, and it was lovely. And now we both have the same brilliant thoughts. So shout out Adam Johns. Listen, it's a good opportunity for the Bears. Let's show the world what the new Bears look like on this one day at Hallis Hall.
All right. Well, we had a full practice recap show late afternoon yesterday. Greg, you were golfing.
Yeah.
So,
Sound like a pretty eventful day between the play on the field. I heard your critiques of that, and then the afterwards at the podium. With a lack of Caleb Williams being there. I did have some thoughts on that. Obviously, I wasn't at practice, so I'm not going to pretend like I know what I saw there. But, I mean, my biggest takeaway of Caleb Williams not speaking to the media is I just think whether it was the Bears that made that decision to not schedule him to be there or he wasn't already scheduled or Caleb not wanting to speak to the media, either way, it was the wrong decision because now you're just dragging this story out. And while fans probably want this story to move on and they don't want the reporters to ask these questions and don't pay attention to Seth Wickersham's book, I totally understand you as a fan. It's an annoying story. As soon as it came out, I was irritated. I just want to enjoy my Bears for one time in my life. And it seems like they're going in the right direction. But realistically, the reporters are going to ask these questions. The Bears and Caleb have to know this. The book transcripts start to come out and filter out. Now you have an opportunity to get ahead of it. Let Caleb, go up there, answer the questions however he'd like, and then move on from this. And instead, what you got yesterday was Kevin Byard having to answer to these questions, Tremaine Edmonds having to answer these questions. Obviously, Ben Johnson is going to have to answer to it one way or another, and I thought he did a fantastic job with it.
He did.
Ben's great. Ben Johnson is great in front of that podium, man. Hopefully that everything he does in front of the podium, shows up on the football field with how he carries himself. But again, we're going in the right direction. But I just think the Bears at times, I think, try to outsmart themselves or overthink it, whether it be Hard Knocks, as we're joking about with the no swearing, or, Justin Fields having to walk something back about what he said in the locker room, or when Matt Eberflus couldn't figure out how to say whether or not they were cutting Chase Claypool, and then a day later they cut Chase Claypool. The stadium news, they do this every month. It feels like they're dropping random stadium news on days after stories come out. And while I think the Bears PR, you guys talked about it yesterday, are doing better job in certain areas, I think that there is just too many times like yesterday where somebody needed to be a present mind and say, guys, let's not drag this out any further. Let's get him up here so his other teammates don't have to answer these questions and be done with this because it is silly. It's an off-season story, but again, it's not going anywhere because whenever he does talk, it's going to come back to the forefront. And then when the book eventually comes out, which you keep saying is going to be week 1, and for me as a Bears fan, I hate that. I'm so excited. We're 105 days away from the season, and you're telling me 5 days before the season I'm going to have to hear about this again? I'm already done with it, but pull the Band-Aid off and be done with it yesterday as fast as you can.
Well, and if I was Caleb, I don't know what else is in the book, but he knows what's been said. So he has an opportunity, I think, to get out in front of anything else that might be in there, too. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe 90, and actually Seth Wickersham told us that this was just like a small part of a bigger thing.
Well, there's a lot of quarterbacks talked about in this book. It's not just a Caleb book.
But
look, newsflash. Yeah, he should have talked yesterday. I agree.
Steven, do we have the Sun-Times? I just want to point this, like, this is what happens when stuff like this happens. Like, this was the back page of the Chicago Sun-Times this morning.
Right. And that's push. And that's a perfect example, of what this turns into, a bigger thing than it needs to be.
Real quick, let me read it for the podcast listeners because they can't see it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. In wake of damning report revealing Williams and his dad angled the Dodge Bears in draft, Caleb ducks reporters at minicamp. So that's Steve Greenberg's column in Sun-Times this morning. And I also don't know that that's completely accurate, by the way.
I wouldn't.
Right. We don't know if it was the Bears telling him, hey, you're not scheduled today. Because that's where I think it went. I'm speculating, but I think he wasn't scheduled, and Caleb's like, oh, well, I'm not scheduled. I'm not going to go up today. But that's where we have to have a presence of mind. Caleb has, hey, guys, I know I'm not scheduled today, but I'd like to speak because I don't want my teammates or my coach to have to speak for me.
Well, that part, if Caleb wanted to talk, he could have gone to the Bears and said, I want to talk, and they wouldn't have told him no, I would assume. Yeah, no, we don't want you to do that. I would highly doubt that they would have said that to him. But
I don't really care about getting in the weeds on all this too much. The one point you did make that I do agree with a lot, Greg, is And maybe he did do this. We don't know. I mean, that's part of the problem is we don't know. But if I'm Caleb, I know this story's coming out, whether I regret talking or not talking and doing this book or whatever. I know my teammates are going to have to answer these questions. So if I were him, I would have wanted to get up there and address this head on, put it to bed until at least week 1. I think that could have happened. And if I'm somebody else in the team on the roster, that's what I would want for my quarterback too.
And his teammates were asked about it yesterday. They were all talking about how he's been a great teammate. Kevin Byard was talking about, how Caleb's been great, all these things. So that's a fair point. The other point, though, that I'm trying to get out for 1 second here is like, look, it's a big thing that we're talking about yesterday. And now today, sometimes cover all that thing. None of it matters. He goes out and plays well. This will be less than a speed bump. So I don't understand why he wanted to be a part of the book and all these things, but I also don't think it's that really ultimately is going to be even close to a small deal, let alone a big deal.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick timeout. I have more of a explainer on what's going on with the Bears Stadium. And even if you are fatigued by the Bears Stadium, this is actually a big deal here in the next 9 days or so, and I'm going to explain why. So that's coming up next. But first, let's shout out our friends at Sunnyside. By the way, we get some swag in here today from Sunnyside that just popped up. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary, locations in the city, out in the burbs, pretty much all over. And if you're a pro, they've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. And for existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
You got the Cresco here, and you got the Floracle here.
What is happening?
Thank you. Why don't I just tell everybody that this Floracle Farms is delicious.
I don't know how to open
2-minute ad break.
Okay. There we go.
Sunnyside. Shout out to Sunnyside. Just trying to show the goods.
Great job by you,
Trying
Greg.
to show the goods.
Always on top of it, no doubt about it. Hey, shout out to our friends at Empire Today, the flooring experts who focus on flooring every single day, making your flooring life as easy as possible. And yes, they are going to give you the home floor advantage. You're not going out to any big box store talking to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Empire's coming right to you where you live, and you're going to pick the right floor and the right colors for your space, seeing how it looks with your furniture, your house, and they'll take the precise measurements right there, answer all your questions, no surprises. Empire Today giving the clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing, and you could schedule your installation as soon as the next day if you want to get it done right away, which tends to be the case when you buy a new house and you're moving in. You want to get it moving, get the floors done. Schedule yourself a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners, you get $350 off, a $350 discount when you use the promo code CHGO. You heard that right, $350 discount with the code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details.
All right, time now for Taking the Temp, brought to you by your trusted local experts at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. And today we are taking the temp on the Bears Stadium situation. And here's what you need to know right now when it comes to the Bears Stadium. May 31st is a big day coming up here for the Bears to get shovels in the ground at Arlington Heights this year, 2025, which is what Kevin Warren has said over and over and over again. He is not wavered from that. But in order for that to happen, there's some things that need to go down in Springfield between now and May 31st, which is next Saturday. And the reason is because that is the end of the current Illinois legislative session down in Springfield. So what I thought I'd do for you guys here is, because a lot of people, nobody wants to be caught up in the weeds and the politics of the stadium stuff, myself included. And so this is like, let's call it Bears Stadium for Dummies, myself included, because I needed all of this like sort of translated to me myself to truly understand it. So you may remember the Bears got this memorandum of understanding with Arlington Heights. You guys remember that? And it had to do with the tax certainty. So why do the Bears need tax certainty? I mean, wouldn't we all love tax certainty on our properties?
Nothing I love more than
that would be great. The difference is my house that I'd love to have tax certainty on for the rest of my life does not have a great benefit to the community like a potential stadium might.
Disagree. I love your backyard.
But I do too. There's a golf course back there.
You give beers to golfers. You should have tax certainty.
All right, let's clip that. Send this to Lake County. I deserve tax certainty.
Take that, Lake County.
Regardless, by getting, when you're going to build a project like the Bears are going to build here, and they're asking for tax certainty, so they know that it's not going to end up, hurting them long term. And in return, by getting that tax certainty, they're telling the community, okay, whatever you're losing here by not being able to raise taxes on us is going to be more than made up for with the benefits to the community, the amount of money it makes.
Oh yeah,
economy, all that stuff.
Business will be booming.
Tourism, right? So it actually makes sense when you really think about it. And no, my backyard does not have that same benefit to the community. So they came to this memorandum of understanding with Arlington Heights, with the school districts, the tax entities in Arlington Heights. Here's the problem with that. They can't actually do that until a law is passed. And so there's some legislation that needs to be passed by May 31st that would actually it wouldn't just be for the Bears, it would become a statewide thing that would allow local taxing districts to enter agreements with private developers. So that's why it's a memorandum of understanding, because they're in agreement, but they can't actually execute it until it's legal to do so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it actually does.
Okay.
And
I'm trying to make this all make
Stadium
sense.
for Dummies.
Stadium for
it's
Dummies.
Working.
MOE.
Yes.
It's working.
MOU.
For this dummy over here, it's making sense.
All right.
Go on.
Must be the hair.
Yeah, somebody called me Bryson DeChamberger. Go ahead.
That's actually funny. So again, May 31st is the deadline. We'll see what happens next week. But if this legislation can pass, and by the way, this is all actually public. It's just you got to kind of sift through some things to find it. Then, bam, Bears would be on track to get shovels in the ground. Now, here's the thing. What about the infrastructure?
What about it?
Because that's a big deal.
Roads.
Yes, roads.
The biggest one is roads.
Sewers. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
No, we will.
Yeah, we'll need lots of roads. We will need ramps. We will need
more
ingress,
trains.
Egress. Ingress, egress is my favorite phrasing that gets used with stadiums. Ingress, egress.
Warren is an expert on that. He went out and he checked it out on his own, the ingress and the egress.
What about egress?
Egress will be here today.
Yes. What I could tell you on that, just on the surface, that sounds like a lot to figure out in 9 days. Am I correct?
9 times.
Well, the
9
infrastructure
days.
timeout, because we were at the proposal for this 3 years ago, and they talked a lot about the infrastructure. So they've had 3 years on the infrastructure. The bill thing, okay, I'll give you
Yeah, but they haven't made any progress because the Bears have been flirting with the city and trying to get this and that.
That's what you get for flirting.
Yeah, here's the deal with what I was told on the infrastructure. That is not going to be figured out in the next 9 days. It probably won't be figured out this year. In fact, that's going to be like kind of a long-term deal that gets figured out. Look, this project's going to take a while. And by the way, the Bears can't go down to Springfield and be like, we need roads. That needs to come from the local communities. The government needs to ask the government for stuff like that. So that's where Arlington.
If anybody lives in Illinois, they know how long it takes a road to get fixed.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's cut to the chase here. Really cut to the chase. The Bears are going to Arlington Heights. Enjoy the Chicago Bears while you can enjoy them because they're leaving. And that sucks. And this sucks. And all this sucks. And ingress, what? Yeah.
But May 31st is still a big date coming up here.
It is a big day.
If this is all going to happen this year, if they're going to get shovels in the ground this year, that's
we got to have a ramrod situation in the next 9 days to get it through. Let's go.
Ramrod?
That's what happens in Springfield. We got to ramrod it. We're going to have a ramrod 9 days,
Boots,
extravaganza, boots on the ground.
Boot and scoot.
Get the droid in there. Fly up the, what's that thing that they call?
Drone?
The drone, yeah, the drone. You get the
Not
drone in there.
droid.
We're getting a droid too. We get an R2-D2 sliding on in there with a
All right.
C-3PO.
How long are you going to talk?
This is why I called it Stadium for Dummies.
Because
Just saying things.
it's just very upsetting. The whole thing's nauseating. But I'm sure it'll be great. It's going to be a great stadium, and everybody's going to love it. I'm sure the Metro will add trains to get out there. That'll be sweet. And there is that good barbershop that I stopped by back in the day right across the strip. That they did a nice job.
There's a bar. My sister lives over there, and every time I drive on Northwest Highway there's a bar.
It's a bar.
It looks like
One
it's
bar.
multiple floors, and it's like kitty corner where the metro station is. And can I buy that from you?
What's the best hot dog place around there? Is Gene and Jude's anywhere close by?
That place is going to do.
But they have right down the road from the stadium. Because when we went for the stadium proposal at the high school, that was a lot of fun.
It was 3 years ago.
That's when
Yeah,
Greg and
I met up.
3 years ago.
I met
They were
up
like,
with-
is this thing going to be done in 4 years?
Yeah.
That was my favorite part that night was when there was some game on that he put on his
Monday.
The Sun
It was
game.
Thursday.
It was the kickoff game for the NFL.
Yeah.
Which it gets full circle what Greg was talking about in the first segment about some of the things they do at the stadium.
So we're sitting
Yeah.
there watching. We're watching
Thursday night football.
some
yeah.
bad football game preseason action.
No, it
and
wasn't preseason. It was the first game of the regular season.
Carm, it was
Sorry.
the opener. It was the highest
It was
rated game of the year.
It was an amazing football game that
It
we
was
had to
Chiefs
have.
Bills, right?
No, it was Rams Bills.
Rams Bills.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me restate. Amazing football game. We were trying desperately to focus on it, and the Bears then were showing us a video about how there's going to be paddle boats,
And me and Carm,
and I just lost it. I'm
me and
like,
Carm are laughing to tears,
Oh,
but we're
paddle
like trying
boats?
to keep our heads down.
paddle
So
boats.
George McCaskey doesn't see us like little kids in the back of the high school math class screwing around.
It was like- and then over here, there's going to be a bench where there'll be birds, and Bears fans will have finger sandwiches with no crust, and then they'll come over to the game. It'll be great.
Just going back to that was so funny. But going back to what I was saying, I met up with some friends, including Lou Medina, my guy from Bleacher Nation Bears, and we went down the road where they have like a nice like restaurant district, and it's like closed off roads that have brick
Downtown
pavers.
Arlington Heights.
Dude,
Very
it
nice.
was so nice. It was so nice.
There's a Cortland's Garage down there.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
really good. Like all these different types of restaurants and bars that you can pick from.
Larry Mayer goes to concerts in the park in Arlington Heights, wherever that is, downtown. Well, I'll hang out with Larry. It'd be great.
Well, now I want the stadium built in this city.
Shout out Larry. Fran Duffy, by the way, coming up in a little bit here, like
On a little
3
bit,
minutes.
very soon.
3 minutes. 3 minutes to Duffy.
Unless we're just gonna make Fran sit there and
Well,
listen to this
we would never-
nonsense.
It's good that we got all the way to 12:30 because I was about to go on a rant about
About what?
just how people are treating you, Carm. I was gonna have your back.
We can finish the show with.
Don't.
I'll yell at Carm.
Coincidentally, didn't have time for that rant. It's all right. No, listen, I'll just.
Well, okay, let me just say this real quick. Then we'll go to
I
Fran.
will lie to you for the rest of my
That's
time.
that's
on
what I was
this
gonna get at. okay, for those upset that anybody has the nerve to tell you what's happening in an OTA practice, good or bad, but they seem to only be mad about the bad stuff, which is interesting. Has there ever been a Bears? Give me an example of a Bears quarterback who struggled in OTAs and then had an outstanding regular season.
Oh, Hoge's going even further.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go there. It would be.
No, I would go there because it's never happened.
Right.
Because the Bears have never had a quarterback have an outstanding season.
No, but I think, but you went through this, Hoge, where you reported OTAs didn't look good with Justin Fields. It was met with visceral reaction from the fans. So I think the other question would be to fans, like, has there ever been a negative OTA report that wasn't agreed by the fans? And respectfully, I wasn't there either. Like, we're not there. And so we pieced together what the 30, well, now 200 of you are there that get to say. And we kind of piecemeal it from each person to like get this full scope of what you guys are seeing. But we've gone through this where one person will say, "Hey, look great." These, and it's just like, it's too much. That's for me. I'm just going to wait for training camp to see it for myself. Take what you guys say at face value. But no, I mean, Carm should be allowed to say that. And I think fans, including myself at times, get overly sensitive about the reporting. If he's good enough, then it doesn't matter what this idiot says. It should, if he plays poorly for one day,
true.
it's okay. Like, if he's good enough,
read line 2 of my tweet. Just read line 2.
I'll read
line 2.
Okay, let's see if I can read it. And I know Fran is really enjoying this. Behind the scenes, Caleb Williams did not have his best day. Ball came out slow at times, off the mark. I know, not really earth-shattering things.
Which, by the way, John's agreed with you.
I mean,
I think what people took exception with you yesterday, Carm, was where you were like,
tell me.
You were like, I was expecting this to be clicking on all cylinders right away.
So that was on the show.
Right, to that.
That's what I want to address too, because I agree with those fans. And I said that to Carm yesterday. First of all, I've never been one to go scorch earth off one OTA practice. I do think that's a mistake. The times where I have said this guy doesn't look good in OTAs, it's after I've seen like 5. Okay? I agree with Carm. I thought the ball came out late a couple times yesterday. I also pointed out I saw one ball hit the ground in 7-on-7s, and there was a flag thrown on that play. And I do think it was kind of ridiculous to expect perfection on day 2 of OTAs in a brand new system. It's a little bit too high of a standard for me. But my point is, that doesn't mean that what Carm saw, that it was somewhat of a shaky practice in which we haven't documented that the head coach was agitated, that we shouldn't report that.
Right. And yeah,
I would agree with the take that, like, you expecting perfection, Carm, is insanity. That's a little strong against me, but is a little off the mark. That's fair. But
I do think there is a percentage of...
But it was bad.
I do think there is a percentage of fans that would prefer to just be lied to, or prefer to be gassed, just be gassed up at all times. And trust me, there's a lot of outlets or podcasts and people that do that. But
all day long.
And then there's a lot of things I don't agree with this guy next to me. But I will say, for the 3 of us, whether you like us, love us, hate us, or in between, each one of us are authentic in what we say. I stand by that always. Carm is exactly how he is off the air as he is on the air. And
he's actually worse.
So, this is his perspective. You take it for what it is, and then you can also go to the other 199 people that reported on it and then put it all together and then try to visualize what they saw.
I'm sure
I'm going to wait for training camp when they finally let me go see the Bears play.
You could definitely find someone who will say that there was some good and some bad, and it was fine. Yeah, which it's fine. That's a fine take. Hey, before we get to Fran, sorry, Fran. I think you might have enjoyed at least a drop of that conversation. But first, shout out to my guys at The Rate at rate.com, and we have been telling you about the Rate app, which is what you need to do if you want to win some sweet prizes from us. which includes 2 tickets at Wrigley for Cubs and Reds a week from Friday. Also 2 tickets to Rate Field to see the Cubs and White Sox in the suite with all you can eat, all you can drink. The Rate Suite is awesome. And yes, by the way, you can also, once you download that app, you can get pre-approved for a mortgage in minutes. You can get a home equity loan. You can get a personal loan. You can get the best homeowners, auto insurance. You want to save money over there, they got it for you. And all free, by the way, 800 wellness videos, meditation, breathing exercises, stretching, all the tools to help you feel better. It's all there for you. It doesn't cost a cent. You know, Carm, yours truly, in bed the other night, can't sleep. Next thing I know, I've got whales doing whatever whales do to make me calm. There's a whale sounding thing in there. Next thing you know, I don't know.
2 minute read.
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling you, it's free. Whales.
One syllable there. That
I left off the humping. It's true. Download the Rate app today to get started. You want to download that app right now. Cubs, Reds, White Sox, Cubs, and whales. They're awesome. Download the app. Scan that QR code. Let's go.
Oh,
Back to you, Hoge.
Rate's never been more happy.
Trust me,
you just got 20 downloads from that.
You should.
you want to get in there for the whales.
All right. You also want to check out Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram because this is your chance to score a great deal during the Employee Pricing Plus sales event. Head to Ray CDJR Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram vehicles. And right now, you can lease the new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. It's the plug-in hybrid for only $245 a month. That's a great price, 24 months on that one. And you can also always shop 125 vehicles that are priced under $20,000. Great team of friendly brand experts there at Ray CDJR, and they're always giving you the raised price promise so you can shop confidently with no add-ons or hidden fees ever. What we tell you on this show is the price you pay when you go in there. That it's that simple. So go check out our partner today. Shop one of Chicago's largest inventories. Find the right new vehicle for you and drive home happy. Don't miss out on the Employee Pricing Plus sales event for huge savings on the Jeep Grand Cherokee. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Fran Duffy, sorry for making you waiting, my friend. You know, we're just going through another May crisis with the Bears quarterback. It's that time of year. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, I was, it's funny. You talk about like overreaction to OTA reports and everything. I think that to me, if you are overreacting to negative reports, that's like a you problem, right? Like, I think it's up to us, eyes at practice, like boots on the ground, to report what we see. If you're going to say like, oh, we need to fire this coach and cut this player, this guy's never going to hack it because he had one bad day or 3 bad days in April or in August, that's a you problem.
Ironically, though, the Bears should have fired their OC after OTAs this year. We didn't know it at the time, but in hindsight, they actually should have just promoted Thomas Brown in the moment.
But you nailed it, Fran. I was talking with a friend on the phone who was literally on my way home from Medina, if you didn't know I was there yesterday. And
you were at Medina?
I was at Medina yesterday, and was screaming at me about what you said. And I said, dude, if you are getting this defensive and this sensitive about what Carm's saying at an OT, then you're more nervous than you're leading on. Like, if you're comfortable in who Caleb Williams is, then it shouldn't matter what reports.
What exactly was he screaming about? Is he going to kill me, or like what does he want to do?
No, he was just like, it's ridiculous how it's the second practice and all this stuff. And I was just like, dude, relax. If he's good enough, then that does not matter. It does not matter what he does on day 2. It doesn't matter what you report on. So, Fran, you're 100% right on that.
No one's saying he's not good enough. At any rate.
Right. Exactly right.
All right. Well, the reason we brought Fran back in, obviously, our awesome All-City draft analyst who is crushing it the entire draft season. And obviously, we're past the draft now. But he's been doing this for a while. And what we've been talking about a little bit on the show in the last couple of weeks is once you get into like year 3 of a draft class, it's go time. It's kind of do or die, and that's no different for the Bears 2023 draft class. And let's take a quick look at what that draft class was from a couple years ago. As we have that for you, obviously started with Darnell Wright in the first round, 10th overall pick. Gervon Dexter, 53rd overall in the second round. Tyreek Stevenson, who's been a starter but obviously had the Hail Mary moment last year. Zach Pickens in the third round. Roshan Johnson, fourth round. Tyler Scott was also in the fourth round. And then there was 2 fifth-round picks in Noah Sewell, Terrell Smith. And then the seventh rounders are long gone at this point, Travis Bell and Kendall Williamson. But those top, what is it? What did they end up there with? 10 picks? Yeah, 10, right?
Yeah, so, looks like it.
Yeah, so 8 out of the 10 are still there. However, when you look at like who'd you put your money on right now, Fran, to definitely earn a second contract, Darnell Wright's probably the only one who's like obviously on that track. I think Tyreek Stevenson has a chance. Yep. And Gervon Dexter probably still has a chance too. But for the most part, well, let's toss it up to you. Like, what do you think about this, where this 23 Bears draft class stands, both in terms of what you thought about them at the time and what they've done so far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, it's TBD on a couple of those names, as you mentioned. And honestly, all of them have had highs and all of them have had lows. You know, some of them more notable than others. You mentioned the issue with Tyreek Stevenson with the Hail Mary against Washington last year. Hoge, I'm pretty sure you and I did the All City show that night. I remember speaking to you afterwards and just despondent after that one. But I think when you're looking at this group, yeah, this is a pivotal year for Dexter, for Stevenson, for all these guys as they're going into a new regime and they have to prove themselves to a new coaching staff.
Fran, when you look back at that class, for me what stands out is Puka Nacua, who was a fifth-round pick, 177 overall. Just going back in your head and your reporting, were you thinking like they are sleeping on this guy, or did that completely catch you off guard like it caught most of the NFL off guard?
Yeah, I didn't quite see it with Nacua. I had a backup grade on him. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this guy can't play. But he was, I mean, this is a guy that was a bigger receiver. Obviously did not test well across the board. Dealt with injuries over the course of his career. The production was never really there. I mean, he had the career high was 800 yards in his career. And so it was a tough profile to really buy into. And it was more just like, all right, like this guy's really good playing through contact and he's pretty good at the catch point, but not like a really savvy route runner, not really a savvy release package. I talked about the athletic limitations, the injury concerns. So there were a lot of reasons to question what Nacua and his upside would be in the NFL, and obviously landed in a great spot with the Rams and was able to hit the ground running.
I'm curious about your thoughts on Roshan Johnson. A lot of Bears.
You got it, buddy.
I'm sorry. I'm going to die.
Swallow.
I'm going to die. Shut up. A lot of Bears fans, including myself, thought that Roshan Johnson was going to be somebody that popped, and we just haven't seen it yet. Now Kyle Monangai comes in. What does he need to show here coming up into this next year to not have a guy like Kyle Monangai take his reps?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing when I looked at Roshan Johnson coming out, and I'll just really quickly just read you my summary on him. You know, career backup for the Longhorns, 2 different schemes, but he's been an important player for that team, both on offense as a change of pace back and on special teams, where he was essentially a core 4 guy as a senior. He played a bunch of special teams at Texas, as we know. Big body banger who can be a downhill presence as a runner, but without the dynamic qualities necessary to be an ideal number 2 back on offense, he can fill a role as a dirty work, do everything backup while maintaining that special teams presence in the NFL. That will allow him to stick for a long time. I saw him as a back-end roster player, which is kind of what he's been. And honestly, to answer your question, Carm, I think when you're looking at Roshan Johnson, yeah, when you bring in Monangai this year, like that's what Monangai brings, right? Is that he can be that dirty work guy. He's not going to be your big play threat. He's going to work between the tackles. He's got good vision. He's got that ability to play through contact. Roshan Johnson's got to prove it on special teams and then see what kind of role he can carve out in that backfield offensively for Ben Johnson and this new coaching staff. But for me, like that running back class, like, obviously, there was a lot at the top. You had Bijan and you had Jahmyr Gibbs go in the first round. Devon Achane went in the second round, or on day 2. after that, that was a weak class. Roschon was a top 10 running back for me in that group, but you guys just heard my report. Like I thought he was like an RB3-4 in the NFL. So just wasn't a great group overall. But I feel like I got right in the ballpark of where Roschon has ended up as a pro.
Would he have gone undrafted in this year's draft class for running backs?
Probably not. I think that he would have gone, somewhere on day 3. You're probably talking like round 5, round 6, somewhere in there. I think at the end of the day, backs like that with that profile, with that projection, those guys get drafted every year. There was a lot to like with Roschon. It was just like, all right, what is the ceiling here with this player?
For the record, Roschon is 10th in the draft class as far as just pure yards, 502. Well, tied for 9th actually with Bryce Young, if you want to include quarterbacks. But the sleeper was Chase Brown, who went in the 5th round, 163 overall, 1,169 yards, which places him 4th behind Robinson, Gibbs, Achane, and then Nia Brown. So
let's talk about Javon Dexter a little bit because this was a higher pick, 53 overall. I always felt like from the start, Javon Dexter is a good player who was being miscast with the Bears. I just the idea that he was a get off the ball 3 technique, I just never saw it. One thing that did not come up on yesterday's post practice OTA show that I liked seeing. Obviously, this is a team that's added Grady Jarrett. With Andrew, I don't know if it's just because Andrew Billings wasn't there yet, or if this is something, and I think it's probably the latter that I think we're going to see more of. But Javon Dexter was kicked inside more like the 1 technique spot. And I just feel like that might be better suited for Big Dex, who's a big body there in the middle. Where, again, sort of same question with him, like where did you see him really fitting in at the time of the draft, and your thoughts on how the Bears have used him to this point and maybe how he could ascend to a higher level? Because I do think that talent's in there if he's just used properly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hoge, he was one of my favorite players in that draft. He was just outside the top 20 for me. I loved that value for the Bears, where they got him in the early stages of round 2. Basically, the way that I described him was like, all right, this is a guy that was super violent at the point of attack, a great run defender with pass rush upside. I thought they were kind of wish casting, kind of projecting him to a 3 technique, but I thought that he could be a super disruptive, 1 technique, which he did early in his career at Florida. Then his final season, they kicked him outside to do a little bit more like 4-eye, 5 technique working against tackles, in that system. And he always kind of dabbled as a 3 technique, in both situations, but I always thought that he was better served to be kind of like hold the point, dominant in the run game. And then, he had explosive traits. There were reps of him on film where he just dominated, like the quickness off the ball, the power, the strength. Like you had glimpses of all the traits there. And it's funny, it's some of the things that we've always talked about with Ryan Poles and this regime is like, grading the flashes. Dexter is a great example of that. It was like if you just took like his top 10, top 15 plays, and it's funny, I was going through my notes just before coming on with you guys of all the players in this class, and even going back and rereading Darnell Wright. I actually wrote in the Darnell Wright write-up that it was grading the flashes versus the body of work result in 2 different outcomes with Darnell Wright. It was the same kind of thing with Dexter. I was higher on Dexter overall than Wright, but yeah, to me, like he has certainly underperformed what my expectations were. But I think there's a lot of tools there for them to work with. I'm excited to see what he looks like in this new system.
Yeah, he has 10 sacks over the last 2 years, only behind Montez Sweat for the Bears during that span. Because PFF actually had him as the most underrated Bear, because they ranked all the most underrated players for each team, and their most underrated Bear was Javon Dexter.
When the Bears went back 1 pick, got a 4th round pick, and passed on Jalen Carter, were you like, great move, Chicago? Fran, what'd you think in the moment?
Yeah, that was definitely. Look, I was working for the Eagles at the time, so I was very thrilled with that outcome. And because to me, look, when I look at Darnell Wright, like he's not my cup of tea. From a skill set standpoint, I kind of have a blind spot for the less than like ideal athlete offensive lineman. Like he won with strength and power, but technically like wasn't everything. He was not great. It was still a work in progress. So that was a little bit earlier than I personally would have taken him. So yeah, that was something that I was at the moment when I was working for the Eagles. It's like, yeah, I'm happy with how this worked out. He's become a better player than what I anticipated when he was coming out of Tennessee, but I still think that they could have done a little bit better there in the top 10.
And just for the record, is Jalen Carter any good?
Yeah, last I checked, which was in the Super Bowl, he was pretty good.
Okay. Since we're talking
Didn't do
2023,
anything
just
in this.
real quick here. Hey, at least Jalen hasn't made the Pro Bowl twice. There's only 3 players from that class that have made 2 Pro Bowls. That would be Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Witherspoon, shout out ILL, 5th overall. Did you just see it?
No. Don't yell at me.
If any of you can get the third who was selected 63 overall.
Oh.
That's been in 2 Pro Bowl. I'm still confused on what the question is.
2 Pro Bowls. Wide receiver.
George Pickens?
Wait, it's
Wait,
not
what?
Puka?
It's not
No,
Puka. Only made it
Puka was
once.
like,
Well, that's right. You said 63rd.
yeah, not Pickens.
It's
Puka
in
was
the
what?
All City family.
It is in the All-City family. Very good.
He's
So, what I would-
cheating. He's cheating us here.
Yeah.
Well, you're allowed to say it, Fran.
Go ahead, Fran.
Marvin Mims
Marvin Mims.
as a
But he-
specialist.
But, hey, that's
But-
value, Steven.
Caleb's teammate at Oklahoma.
Oh, then the good pull there, Hoge. Anyway, those are the names. If you look at who's
Thank
made
you.
it twice. I just like that. There's a lot of ways you can like
Did
evaluate.
that have a point or no?
well? But I just think not really.
This is like what
the point is this.
when he left our meeting room to do his homework. This is what he came up
that's
with.
the point.
No, that's actually coming up next. I got a lot of stuff for you in the
Oh,
final
great.
segment.
We'll make Fran sit through this and let us leave.
I'm just looking at like who from that draft should the Bears have drafted that they didn't, that type of thing. That what jumps out at you. I think honestly, it obviously goes to Carter and Darnell Wright at the start more than anything else. But the Puka thing, like that could have been a moment in time where you showed yourself to be a genius, and there was an opportunity for someone to do it, and the Rams were the ones. That's all.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though, is like if Puka gets drafted by the Bears, like is he Puka Nacua? It's just those things are always difficult to kind of project. As I go through, I'm just kind of going through like what some of my thoughts were on some of these players. I was really high on Garrett Williams coming out of Syracuse. He ends up going to the Arizona Cardinals in round 3. He's turned into a really good player for them and a pivotal piece of that secondary. Yeah, I'm just looking through in terms of like who else could the Bears have taken that would have been beneficial. Yeah, to me, Williams would probably be the one that stands out, especially because they took Stevenson in that draft. That said, like I had a starting grade on Stevenson. I was really high on him coming out of Miami. This was a guy that had competitiveness through the roof. The route instincts were there, the length, the ability to win in press coverage. I'm excited to see him in Dennis Allen's system. I think he's a really good fit for what Dennis Allen is typically like to do out on the boundary, and so I'm excited to see that and what that means for Stevenson here in 2025.
Well, Stevenson's been a good starter. It's really just like kind of the focus level and the consistency that needs to be there. I want to ask you about maybe some of these guys that haven't necessarily worked out. Zach Pickens, Tyler Scott. I would say that those 2 guys are definitely squarely on the bubble, especially when you look at the additions at those positions in this year's draft. Noah Sewell, we made note of him yesterday, Fran. He just looked pretty jacked at practice, like he maybe put on some weight, and he was kind of playing more of a mic role yesterday. Just any thoughts on those guys? I don't want to throw Terrell Smith in the same category because he's actually gotten opportunities to start and has looked good. He just sort of, Stevenson was drafted ahead of him, so he's got more of the opportunity. But just anything surprise you either way on some of these guys that I've mentioned?
Yeah, the Pickens one was a tough one for me personally. I was pretty low on Zach Pickens when he was coming out of South Carolina. He was outside of my top 20 defensive tackles that year, and obviously going in round 3, it was a little bit rich for my blood. I was hoping for a little bit more from Tyler Scott. I think when you looked at Scott coming out of Cincinnati, the route running chops like vertically down the field, honestly, wasn't all that dissimilar from Carm's boy Marvin Mims. I think when you look at it, it's like, all right, like this is a guy that can work vertically down the field, has that ability to kind of work safeties and and be a factor. Tested well, was regarded off the field really well. So despite his small size, I was hoping for a little bit more from him. But yeah, and that's why honestly, in a draft like this, where you have 9-10 picks. You're not going to hit on all of them, but if you're able to hit on half, then you feel pretty good about it overall. Now it's just all right. What the positive half here for Chicago? Ken Dexter, Ken Stevenson, can those guys ascend here in year 3 and make this a good looking draft class?
Well, guy gets in the right system, he'll take off. I believe that. He looked good yesterday too, by the way.
Well, that is my question to you, Fran, is what were they looking at with Zach Pickens? Because like a lot of times, I won't define a move as bad if I can see the logic they were trying to get to. If it doesn't work out, fine. But if there was logic to the move, and so you drafted Gervon Dexter and then Zach Pickens comes along. So can you explain to me any kind of logic of what they thought they might have been getting?
Yeah, I wish I could help you there, Carl. I mean, he had a pretty good Senior Bowl week, and so this was a guy that, and then he went and tested at the combine, and the testing was pretty good across the board. He had good length. I mean, 34 and a half, just under 34 and a half inch arms. So when you put that all together and you say, okay, this is a guy that had, some people thought was like a first-round talent coming into the year. I would have not have been in that camp, but this was a guy that had like an athletic background, was a fullback and a defensive end coming out of high school. The athletic traits, the length, goes to the Senior Bowl, on that stage and does well. 3rd round, like, all right, that's a good stage to kind of take that kind of a swing on a player. But again, that was just a little rich for me. I never thought that the film really backed up that kind of draft slot.
By the way, they were looking at something. He was tall and could jump, and
he wasn't at OTAs, so we didn't get a look at him. Yesterday.
Well, and then going back to Tyler Scott, he's always looked good in OTAs. Getting open has never been his problem. He's one of the best route runners on the team.
But he made a very good catch against the boundary yesterday.
That's what the problem with him has been, making contested catches, like anything that's close to a 50-50 ball.
The boundary was in his face yesterday, and he caught it. You keep that look. Somebody take a picture of that. When he takes off wherever he lands next,
that's the look.
I'll remind you that's how you looked at me when Tyler Scott was mentioned on this show on May the 22nd at the back end of Fran Duffy's outstanding hit, because he's phenomenal as always.
That was actually Hoge recording Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport's fight at the Starbucks.
Oh, I would have had a much different look on my face if I had witnessed that.
That was a look, Hoge. That was a look that you made when Carm starts talking about whales.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry you had to witness that. But that's what what you're walking in. At this point, you know what you're walking into on this show. When you come in here about 1:30 Eastern time, you just never know what you're going to get. Fran, thanks so much, man. It's good having you back on. Maybe we'll do.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll talk again soon.
Yep.
Be good, Fran. You're the best.
Fran next week as well on the show.
Phenomenal.
So
phenomenal
as always. All right.
Fran dizzy today. It was so good.
Dizzy having to
spinning
listen
from
to
all
you.
the info.
Now I'm scared about this last segment.
What are you looking at?
Oh, the cap looks broken on that.
Don't worry about the cap. Just worry about yourself.
Okay.
There you go. Well, this is the D block, and there's lots of good stuff that you guys put in there, and I added onto it. So
but first, I want to give a quick shout out to our diehards. And if you want to become a diehard, go to allchgo.com/diehard to sign up. You get exclusive written content from these fine gentlemen and everybody at CHGO Sports that cover all the different teams here in Chicago. Get a free shirt out the gate, 20% off all merch going forward. You get discounts on our tailgates coming up this season and events like our Cookout Classic coming up at the Village Links of Glen Ellen here Friday, June 6th. Can't wait for that. You can still book a foursome with Mark Carman.
If you want to come out and golf with me and yell at me for saying anything bad that ever has happened to the Bears in any year, I'll listen the entire
You could
round.
hit them with a club. If you buy the foursome, you can hit them with your 3-wood. And we also are going to Vegas week 4, compliments of True Fan Travel. Once again, we had 2 amazing trips with them last year in London and Arizona. If you go to truefantravel.com, you can sign up, put your deposit down for this event. More details to come on that, but really excited to go out with the fans. We've already had a ton of signups for that. So you get all this kind of stuff and discounts for these events and all this different stuff when you become a diehard at CHGO Sports.
So we can't see it, but the coolest thing that's ever happened on this show, just, do you know what those are to your left there, Grover?
That's the Chicago Stadium chairs.
Stadium chairs just appeared out of nowhere.
Oh.
The greatest sporting venue in the history of all sports by 8 million miles. Jake Flanagan, our GM, just walked in and put down two. Those are first balcony or second balcony seats.
I was gonna say those wouldn't have still been there when the stadium closed, would they have been?
Oh yeah, that's up top. Those are up top seats, and those are sweet. And when the show is over, I'm gonna go sit in there, and I'm probably gonna start crying because the place was the greatest, and it should have been refurbished. And it's, of all the terrible things that have happened in this city as far as the sports go, that place getting knocked down sucked. Thank you very much. But we got stadium seats. That's a great job by us.
Pretty bad take, but
It's great.
No.
isn't it tiny? Didn't it go from like I know
18,676 for the Chicago Bulls there.
I'm pretty
And
sure
there were 20,000
Yeah,
in
but
there.
I'm pretty sure that it's a well-known fact that when Chicago Stadium opened, it was the biggest venue. I think might have been the biggest stadium.
Boston Garden had like 14.9.
And then by the time it closed, it was the smallest.
It wasn't the smallest. That's not accurate. And Madison Square Garden, they knock it down? No, they didn't. They refurbished it because it's Madison Square Garden. That's what you do.
It was big enough to do that and make it big.
There's some super smart people out there. They could have figured it out.
If there's one thing that we're just never going to, that Carm is never going to accept.
Yeah, go ahead.
Until his death. He's just never going to accept that the one thing we don't do in this city is stadiums.
That's not true. Have you been on the north side?
Yes, I was there last week.
Yeah.
They built it 100 years ago.
They refurbished the living daylights out of it.
And I would say 20% of the seats are actually good seats.
And
and there's 40,000 people.
And the only
in there.
reason,
But that's fine. I'm just telling you.
I don't care if there's a poll.
The one thing no one ever wants to talk about is that half the seats in the 200 level suck.
Yeah, and people sit behind those poles all day long because nobody gives a shit about watching a baseball game because baseball's boring. All they want to do is drink and hang out and be an idiot, and you can do that in the 200 level. You want to,
But the other reason they take care of that stadium is because a phrase you like to use all the time, they're pot committed, and it's because it's a federal landmark. So it ain't going
So is Soldier Field.
Is Soldier Field a federal landmark?
Yes, the columns are. They take care of it because it's good for business. That's what it is. Because people like to go to Wrigley Field.
I must have missed where the Bulls don't lead the league in attendance, and every Blackhawks game I went to last year was pretty much packed, even though they were horrible. So people are showing up to that stadium too.
Northwestern's getting a sweet stadium.
Can't wait.
Okay. I mean,
I'm not denying Chicago Stadium was sweet, but trying to be like they should have kept those seats. You go sit on that. I'll give you $100 if it doesn't break.
Okay.
Let Carm do it, Greg, please.
Don't.
Excuse me.
Don't break. Sit down. Yeah, bring him out here. Can you bring him out here with your bad knee?
No. You're getting yelled at.
Well, you brought her over here.
I didn't know it was a special thing.
It's distracting.
Well, yeah.
Hey, Jeff, how are you? Come on out.
We saw cool chairs and we got distracted.
I
got excited. Can't help it. I love the stadium. It's my favorite place on
That
earth.
is kind of on Jake. You got to put Chicago Stadium memorabilia anywhere near Carm.
He's blaming me.
Not
you can't expect
squirrel.
Yeah, you can't expect squirrels to see.
Right. We can pivot. The stadium's the greatest. Jim Irsay passed away.
He did. Well, Jim Irsay was
a lot of people don't maybe know the Bears connection to Jim, but go ahead.
Well, it's not really a Bears connection. It's that he's from Chicago, born in Lincolnwood. He went to Loyola Academy. His dad made his money with like an HVAC company here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't know is his dad originally bought the Rams and traded the Rams and Colts franchises. It was a trade. So he actually bought the Rams and then traded to have the Baltimore Colts. That stuff would never happen today. And then obviously quick shout out to JJ Stankovic. I think we talked about this when this podcast came out, but JJ did an amazing 5-part podcast series on the Colts and how they basically why they moved from Baltimore to Indy. It's great stuff, but there's some amazing stuff there on just the Irsay origins. And to Irsay's credit, Jim, so his dad owned a team. That's nice, but he worked his way up. He did everything in that franchise from literally doing the laundry in the equipment room to eventually becoming the general manager and then eventually becoming the owner. Jim Irsay, he's got if you talk to people who have been around him, he's got a good heart. He had a good heart. He gave a lot of his money away to charities, and also just to people who needed it.
Random people at training camp.
Seriously,
he would just hand you whatever's in his wallet.
His dad was not popular because of the move from Baltimore to Indy, and that team, the Colts, were an absolute debacle of a franchise. And then it's sort of like a Rocky Ward's Blackhawks story because when he got in there, Peyton Manning also showed up at the same time, and all of a sudden, of course, the Colts went on and won a Super Bowl. I'm pretty certain they beat the Bears, but Devin Hester started off that game. But the connection that I'm talking about, his dad, part of the reason why he was able to probably jump around like he just did with teams, he was good friends with George Halas. They were, they were buddies, and one of the pieces I came across is that Jim used to go to Bears games when he was at Wrigley Field in the '60s, hanging out. That was part of his football upbringing. The dude's just super cool. I mean, he just I love rich owners who are actually relatable and fan-like, and this guy had the money to do whatever he wanted, so he was able to. He had an incredible collection. He had items from the Beatles and James Brown and Prince and Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. So he was a big music guy. He also had presidential documents. The Tribune wrote about this. He had a wanted poster for John Wilkes Booth. He also had a Jackie Robinson bat, Muhammad Ali title belt. I mean, the saddle from Secretariat's Triple Crown wins. If I was rich, those are things that I would do. I'd buy Jordan shorts from the day he hit the shot. I'd have stadium paraphernalia left and right.
Well, Greg's rich. He belongs to a country club.
That's true.
That's true.
What would you do?
What would I do?
I don't know. I just wanted to get one more Medina shot in before the show.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I would let anyone.
We saw some Jordan memorabilia yesterday.
Yeah, we did actually. I did share it if you want to pull it up, but it might be too quick of a draw. But yesterday at our country club in Medina.
Your country club?
Yeah, ours. I didn't say mine. I said ours. Mine and Steven's. We were able to be lucky enough to go down into the locker room and see Michael Jeffrey Jordan's locker and Tiger Woods' locker, and they got a sauna down there.
Are they members there, or do they just
they're members.
get a locker?
No, they're members. It's really cool. The entire thing is amazing. It was
that's what you would do if you were rich. You would just
I got
belong to a
take
bunch of country
picture
clubs all over.
right next to Jordan's locker. His shoes and stuff are in there. All his stuff, he leaves his stuff in there. It was awesome.
They open up his locker?
Yeah, none of the lockers have locks on them. That's the other thing that's cool. Anybody could, I could have opened. Now there's a guy there that works those locker rooms. He's famously known as Fido. So he took us around.
Fido?
Yeah, Fido's awesome. And shout out to Fido. And he opened the locker for us. But yeah, there's no locks on these lockers because it's etiquette. You're not gonna go around in other people's lockers. So it was. I mean,
sounds like you did.
You know, Carm, as the Jordan fans that we are, all of us are, to be able to stand there and know that Jordan ties his shoes right there. And they were telling stories about he comes in there all the time. Here are the two lockers for Jordan and Tiger, and different people that went in to play golf under their names, because you can only get in, I believe, if a member gets you in there. So once again, shout out to our guy Sam. He's going to be on the Vegas trip with us, Sam. So we can continue to, get to know Sam and everything that he brings to the table, which is amazing golf trips like that. So, but that was amazing.
That's super cool. I'm jealous. All right.
Happy birthday to Steven.
Happy birthday, Steven.
Happy birthday to me.
R.I.P. to Jim Irsay. Condolences to the Irsay
I just
family.
I want to share George McCaskey's statement on Jim Irsay real quick before we get out of here. Jim was a Chicago guy through and through and spoke often about his pride in being connected to our great city. He was a gracious victor in Super Bowl 41, and he was a great friend of the Bears. Our condolences to Carly, Casey, Kalen, and the entire Irsay family. I thought it was like he didn't have to mention Super Bowl 41 in there. So to even mention that was...
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad mentioning it. George had to... That's good sport, George. Way to go. Hey, last thing on the way out here. Shout out to the Wildcats. Did it again. You know what they did?
No, I don't.
They won a golf tournament.
They won the NCAA Women's Golf Championship.
Wow.
Stunning upset fashion, knocking off Stanford. Take that.
Yeah, I heard it came down to the 18th hole. I was getting live texts from Kevin Fishbane, and I was trying to ignore them, but it was hard.
Now, did you know that is the 12th national championship for Wildcat Athletics? 12 of them, Gregory.
I did not know that.
Ever?
Yes. In school history. 11.
Wisconsin's got like 12 women's
They got
hockey titles.
They got eight in lacrosse, 2 in field hockey, and now golf, and of course, don't forget the 1941 fencing team that also won the national championship. But this sent me down a research hole as I was staying away from you. Do you know how many national championships Wisconsin's won, Mr. Badger?
I don't.
You want to take a guess? You think it's more or less than 12?
I would think it'd be more.
It is more.
Yeah, it's got to be more.
33 of them for the
I was
Badgers.
gonna say the way you asked that had me thinking that like I was way off base thinking that.
I mean, the Cats are obviously more recent. The last time you won one was all the way back in 2023 when the women's ice hockey team got it done.
Wrong. It was a couple months ago, like 1 month ago, when the women's ice hockey team got it done.
Oh, well,
check your Carmapedia.
Well, then you have 34.
Your Carmapedia needs to be updated.
I'm on your website, by the way. This is the Wisconsin website. So UW Badgers.
It's not my website. If I was in charge of it, I would have updated.
Well, okay. I'm not on Wikipedia. I'm on the UW Badgers right here.
It's a bad job by them.
Well, thank you.
We got some issues going on.
Yeah, you might as well. Don't put it on me, buddy. I got it right here. You know how many times did Purdue's won a national championship?
I don't know, but I know their men's team is pretty good.
At what?
I'm talking about the entire athletic department.
Oh.
In the history of Purdue.
All their championships?
Cats got 12. How many do you think you got?
4.
3. Take that. That's right.
All their programs?
Women's basketball won 1.
1961 men's golf, 1999 women's basketball, 2010 women's golf.
Oh, golf.
Yeah, golf.
Their men's golf is very good. I know they get.
What are we doing here? We got super chats. We got.
Point is Cats greater than Purdue.
Tomorrow.
Close the show.
You're going to talk about flag football in the Olympics.
Tomorrow I'm going to talk about flag football in the Olympics. Absolutely.
Garbage Man Steve, $5. What up, Garbage Man Steve? Oh, I turned 30 yesterday. Feel as old as Carm.
Oh, you got to wait. You got to wait another 30 years for that.
Same name and birthday as Steven. Can't wait for the season. Coming to the Saints tailgate.
There we go.
Let's go, Garbage Man Steve.
Might be getting a win that day, too.
Steve's birthday yesterday. Why don't you bring him to Medina?
Yeah.
My bad, Steve.
Don Burr's dad, $5. Don Burr's dad here, just wanting to remind my son I'm still his dad no matter how much of a Lions troll he is. P.S. Goff is a choker.
Wow. Don Burr's really been getting some, like...
I think we had fake Don Burr.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So,
the battle is coming back at Don Burr, and I like this. This is a good response by Bears Nation in the chat.
Sangray with a $5 Canadian.
Sangray.
He's going to really uplift
Those are
you
California dollars.
Guys, let's face it. It seems like Caleb ain't going to be it. We did it again, boys. We got Trubisky when Mahomes was free. We got Caleb bust when Jaylon was.
Don't call him Caleb bust.
Oh, he spent $5 California dollars to say it.
Sangray, settle down.
Eric, $10. Remember when the Bears put out a stadium reveal video last year for the Lakefront Stadium? Think we should expect something like that later this year for the Arlington Heights project.
I can't wait till they actually have
like the real
picture of what the actual stadium is going to look like.
I think it's coming.
Every other city Buffalo, Tennessee, and every other city, they announce they're going to build a new stadium, and they get a picture of the new stadium.
Look at Las Vegas. That's what it's going to be.
And more importantly, there are cranes in the sky, and you can see the new stadium.
Yeah.
In Buffalo and Nashville.
I'll just take a picture at this point. I'll just take a picture of it.
Allegiant Stadium with a clear roof. Mark it down. It was so sweet last year when we went to Soldier Field. They did the whole thing, and Kevin prayed beforehand. Let's all pray. And I was like, please let the stadium happen in Chicago. and
Carm is like, just,
please
power of Christ.
Please let this not be a complete BS that we're all here for something that's going to happen, and then it just didn't happen.
Buddy Love with a dancing emoji.
All right.
To finish things off.
Oh, yeah. And then
Buddy Love,
Cheesy
famously.
Gordita Crunch has been asking me for my Taco Bell order the entire show, and I'm going to...
You know what?
I don't go to Taco Bell.
Bean and cheese burrito taco. Bean and cheese taco.
What, do you not like having fun? You get your stupid scanner out and see how healthy it is for you?
Yes. Actually, I don't. But I mean, I know what I'm getting into when I go to
Why don't you
fast food.
scan Carm and see how healthy he is for us?
He's not. Have you seen the gray hairs on my head?
No, I'm not talking. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. And
we got a mouse in your pocket?
You're taking the day off, buddy.
Okay.
You got a mouse in your pocket? You never heard it?
I don't
we.
get it.
You said we. You never heard that joke before? It's an expression.
I don't get it. Nobody here gets it.
Yeah, literally anyone.
What does that have to do with a mouse?
Sarah wants us to go. We got to go.
Well, there's a big show coming
Yeah,
up. The
it's a
Blackhawks have
joke
new
when you
head
say
coach.
we.
Let's go Hawks.
Okay. Fine. I won't be here tomorrow. Enjoy the show without me. Noon tomorrow. See you later. CHGO Bears. Bye.
That was a great ending right there.